lot of people were content that we got to the quarterfinals and we took a game off white. We feel like that wasn't good enough.
We looked at our problems. We're focusing on structure. We're finally building a roster that's really serious. I think that we can be a world-class team easily.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Intel X3 Masters World Championship.
TSM, the #1 seed coming out of North America. That's 2 kills for TSM.
Team Solomon takes down CJ Entis.
World Elite walking into a trap here. There's the surrender. Team Solomon are the Intel X3 Masters World Champion.
Katowice, it was an amazing event, but our ultimate goal is win Worlds.
Hello and welcome to Week 8 of the North American LCS Spring Split. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Los Angeles, California. We've got an energetic crowd today, to say the least, looking for some great games and repping their team colors. There's some Cloud9 fans out there. Definitely, I'm sure, plenty of TSM fans. And Team Impulse, all smiles in their locker room. They'll take to the Rift first up in our first game of the day against Coast. MASH looking rather relaxed, and their new support, Con Quan, getting ready at his practice computer. And then Team Liquid, who are already in the building, getting in some practice time before they face off against Cloud9 in our second game of the day. Hello, I'm James Dash Patterson, and we are in for an exciting day of matches as teams look to make moves while the getting is still good. So sharing their smarts on the desk today, I've got Aiden Zyrene Moon, Joshua Jat Leesman, and David Freak Turley. Guys, it's good to be back in the studio after a week off.
It is. It's been a week too long. Thankfully, Aiden and I got to cast on Wednesday, so we're warmed up and ready, but it's going to be a bunch of fun games.
Yeah, only 2 weeks left in the North American LCS regular season as well. It's really speeding along. 4 games, so the teams that make their moves this week are going to be pretty big moves.
Crunch time, to say the least. Well, at the top of the pack right now is Team Solomid, who are returning to the NA LCS with a big international win under their belts, taken first at IEM Katowice.
Woo! Yeah, TSM. Honestly, it was a really exciting tournament to see because it was the first time in a while, if ever, the TSM has found success in an international tournament. You'd have to look back like 3 or 4 years ago to the beginnings of League of Legends to see that.
MLG Anaheim 2012. CLG EU,
Bam.
Fnatic, Cursey, you were there, and SK.
They did it.
Looked it up today.
Yeah, but it was a great performance. But the things they have to worry about now is a little bit of hangover from that event. Remember, that patch was 5.4 that they played on in Katowice. Other teams stayed home and practiced, got to play a lot more on the live servers, 5.5, which looks to be a very meta-bending patch. It could change a lot of things in the game, and they may be a little bit slow to catch on to some of those trends.
Yeah, and I don't know how much is going to be actual hangover from it, as it is going to be them trying new things and it just not working out. Because I feel like TSM at this point are very international competition focused team. They're looking at MSI, they're looking at Worlds and playoffs here. So what they're going to try to do is adjust to 5.5 and use the regular season as experimentation for them to just diversify their playbook in preparation for playoffs.
And actually, I'm really glad you mentioned MSI and looking to international competition, because now all the NA teams get to say, guys, we're in a strong region. North America's good at League of Legends, and now every team can look forward to playing at MSI, not as practice, but as furthering the fact that North America is actually pretty darn good here. Now I want to see what it does to the teams that aren't TSM. What happens to CLG and Impulse and C9 and CLG to say, now we really want to win, so we can go beat up Koreans too. And that's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, basically IEM gave us a lot of more questions instead of answers that we were looking for.
Yeah. All right, well, definitely everyone's going to come out swinging. We do have a 3-way tie for 5th place, and there are still enough games for Team Dignitas and Winter Fox, who are tied in 8th, to claim one of the final berths. So, as Freak, you mentioned, teams are definitely going to be fighting tooth and nail these last couple weeks to make it to that playoffs. Yeah,
and I think one of the teams I'm most looking forward to in this final run is Winter Fox. So Glebe is back on the roster. Smart for them. They were 4-4 with Glebe. They were 1-5 without him. But 3 of those losses with Glebe was week 1 of Sun Squad, and then against TSM and against CLG. These are pretty forgivable losses, and 4-4 looks like a pretty good record at that point. They're only 2 games behind that big tie for 5th place. And in fact, 2 of the games that Winter Fox plays are against Team 8 and Team Liquid, who are in that tie. So I expect these guys, if they do well, to actually make that surge and actually squeak into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like Winter Fox is in a bit of a restoration mode. They're just trying to make sure they become a summer split team. I think that 4-4 with Glebe when they made the roster changes was because they thought they were in a good spot and that they could rise higher. The fact that that change massively backfired means they're going back to that middle of the pack team to hopefully become a middle-of-the-pack team again and stay in the LCS.
And I actually want to look at their opponent today. It's Team 8. So Slushy and Porpoise Pops have been stepping up constantly throughout the last couple of weeks here. And with 5.5 landing, it's not going to be on Cali Troll solely to play tanks in the top lane, because it could come from the jungle on Porpoise Pops. So it frees him up to play carries, which he's seen a lot of success on.
I hope that happens.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well,
We've been waiting for it.
To that point, teams this week are going to be playing on the 5.5 patch, and chief among those changes is going to be a series of adjustments that will impact who and how the jungle is going to be played.
Yeah, we've seen the European LCS being played on the 5.5 patch. They have typically slightly different jungle tastes than North American LCS, but some examples of what happened over there on the 5.5 patch. There was 0 Vi games, 0 Jarvan 4 games, our first Fizz match, our first Zac jungle of the split. Sejuani was banned 5 times, so a lot of differences there. And I think the test for the North American teams will be which jungle style do they want to play and how quickly can they make that happen. Because I do feel like the Cinderhulk junglers are definitely in for a large appearance, but you got to put more damage elsewhere on your team. You need to make sure you have that if you're running a tank jungler, and it's going to be an adjustment period, and how quickly can the teams do it.
Yeah, and what's cool about that actually is, as long as they played an Italy game, and I don't quite remember if they did, all 4 jungle enchants got bought last week or yesterday or so in the EU LCS. So like, all the styles of junglers
Strategic
are in the
diversity!
meta, like all of them. So I really want to see, who does craft the fun composition, who does make those leaps forward and fit a team that works with all the various champions you can play.
Yeah, and I like the idea of what you said, Jat, where changes to the jungle are going to affect the rest of the map as you need to find adjustments in the other lanes in order to make the new junglers work. Well, and for those of you that were following the EU LCS, we did experience some technical difficulties that caused interruptions in our coverage of the Gambit versus Elements game, but we wanted to take a minute to give a special shout out to their Week 8 MVP from Unicorns of Love. It's Power of Evil. Now, he had a fantastic play on signature champions such as Syndra and Cassiopeia, helping to secure 2 critical wins in the middle of the table to secure a playoff spot. And in one of the wilder games we've seen in maybe ever, Power of Evil helped Unicorns secure their 2nd win over Fnatic this split. Now we're going to come back over to the NA, though, and pull up the standings. Starting the day in 1st place, it's Team Solo Mid. CLG is 1 game back in 2nd, and Cloud9 holds 3rd. Team Impulse had a big week 7 to claim sole possession of 4th place. Then sharing 5th, we've got that 3-way tie, Gravity, Team 8, and Team Liquid, each with 7 wins and 7 losses. Rounding out the standings, it's Team Dignitas and WinterFox tied for 8th and Coast in 10th. We'll check back on those after our 5 games today, starting with Team Coast versus Impulse. Then Team Liquid will take on Cloud9, followed by TSM versus Gravity. That's all coming up, but now let's send things over to the guys on the caster desk. Take us into the